Hello, everybody. It's your girl JJ here, and today we're going to be reacting to how to stand out as a VTuber, also even as a YouTuber. Cause the grind's been tough. I know I'm getting some results, but I would like to speed up the process a bit. You know, maybe get ad rev one day. So yeah, let's just get on with the video.
You know how frustrating it is seeing a bunch of new VTubers debut after you and they're so much more successful than you are because it looks like they're just trend hopping or copying what's currently popular? Like, look, I've tried doing what's popular, and I've also thrown everything I could at a wall hoping something would stick, and something eventually did stick for me, but it wasn't exactly something I wanted to stick. And if I could go back in time and restart everything from scratch, then I would, because there's a lot of things I would do differently. Because if you've made the similar mistakes as me, then I don't want you to lose hope and start doubting yourself, thinking that you're not good at VTubing because you're trying to stand out in an oversaturated market. Now, this is not me throwing shade
Oh
at
snap, that's a
anyone
nice model
particular
she
because
has.
I don't
Or is
think
that
there's
her?
anything inherently wrong with how all these popular
That one's cute
VTubers go
though.
about their content, which I'll talk more about in a moment. But I totally understand why it can feel like VTubing is oversaturated. But how would you feel if I told you that VTubing being oversaturated is just a misconception and that VTubing
Do you guys think that's true? I don't know. I think VTuber, if you started very early at like 2020 with like the fanciness of it, where all the stuff wasn't free, maybe it wasn't as rough to get noticed, but now with everything and everyone wanting to become a VTuber, it is a bit tougher.
models themselves are not content, but they're
Hello,
just a
Aaron.
medium people use to make content. It might sound kind of obvious, right? But the fact that being a VTuber adds an extra layer to your content does not mean that it's what defines your content. You could have 3 different VTubers up on a screen who all make the same
That's
exact type
her.
of content, but only one of them will actually succeed. And a lot of people like to dumb this down to
She had multiple models.
one of the VTuber models is just
So like, I did see a video of hers where she had mentioned that she made multiple different models, and like her models aren't like just like, they're not just like, oh, small change. They're crazy changes. Like she changes the hair color and like the outfits and everything. I don't know. I know with me, I want to change the outfits. I don't know how much of a drastic we can have with my model though. Like I feel like it will be a bit too much if we like go overboard with the change, but we are still a young channel, so it really doesn't matter either. So
better looking than the other two. But I don't think it's really that simple, because if having a pretty model is all that it takes,
yeah, it's not that.
why
Definitely not that.
so many people get burnt out from constantly debuting and trying to show off these pretty models? It's because they're too focused on being a VTuber and not a content creator. Now, that might sound a little confusing, so why don't we talk about the first problem to this big misconception, which is, why does everyone think VTubing's oversaturated? We're gonna kind of talk about a few different things. I see some of you are saying like, oh,
Blue.
isn't this like your stereotypical like, is streaming oversaturated, is YouTube oversaturated? In a way, yeah, but there's more nuance to it because we're VTubers, right? VTubing feels saturated because most VTubers are only looking at other VTubers using tags like VTuber Uprising. And that's very interesting that you're saying that, because you're specifically referring to Twitter/X. What about Reddit or Instagram or TikTok or YouTube itself? You would be surprised at how little.
Hold up. I don't know, cause I am trying Insta, TikTok, Twitter. I tried, and even Kick, cause I don't know a lot of VTubers on Kick. I haven't been able to gather audience, so like I feel like it is oversaturated. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
Little people utilize other social medias to promote their debut. It's actually quite interesting. I find it very interesting with debut culture. But again, that's not the only reason why people think.
I should have my thing on this different one.
When I was looking up,
let's put it here so I can be more known.
I'm not even kidding you. People will debut like their new like VTuber stuff, and someone always. There's always that one person, right? There's always that one person that's like, oh, you look like this VTuber or you look like that VTuber. Why are you copying them and stuff and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, not every VTuber looks like Iron Mouse. Okay, like you guys gotta relax. For real. I see that a lot actually. Not specifically Iron Mouse, just in general. I see people being like, oh, you look like Shy Lily. Or, oh, you look like Gura. Literally, people in my streams call me, oh, you look like Nanners. Like, okay. I've seen.
I don't remember who Nanners is. Oh, I think I heard of her. I don't think I've actually been like. I know you guys like to joke that I act like Gargura, and that like I act like certain models, but I don't really look like a certain model. Like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like my model was distinguished from the start because the person who made it just made it look unique, even though it has like the basic look of everything. But I think the thing is that I started right away with having like makeup on my model and whatnot, and not a lot of people use makeup on their VTuber, like for the well-known ones. Like it's usually plain. Like when you look at her, I guess I'll keep it for the side right now. When you look at her model is very how would I say? Oopsie, wrong way. It's more innocent, like it's not childlike. I don't think it's childlike. It has that anime look, but it's not like, what would I say? It's anime, but it's not like, you know, mature. And there's like, what I mentioned this before, you could have a mature model or you could have like a childlike model. I think hers is in between. Like she did have a more childlike model with like having a teddy bear, just because it's like, you know, you're holding on to something that's like plushies and stuff that makes you look childlike. But I feel like hers is distinguished enough to be in between. What I wouldn't say this one's okay, but I'm saying like the one she currently has with the overall.
And how the only reason why she's big now is because of, well, you know, who she used to be back in the day. And it's interesting because a lot of people are making the arguments about how, oh, if, you know, she never joined a company, no one would ever care about her. And I find that very interesting how a lot of people think that they need to join a company in order to stand out because VTuber is just so oversaturated they can't be successful as an indie, which is just not true at all. You can still very much be successful just doing everything yourself.
So I will say it is possible. However, what a lot of these VTubers are not telling you though is that a lot of small ones are having managers and whatnot when they do YouTube. I'm not sure how many of them are, but a lot of them that, like, you know, have like, oh my gosh, look at all this stuff and whatnot, are not doing it with the $0 budget. They're doing it like with like spending on the management and all that other stuff. I'm not saying all of them do. I'm just saying not large. Some of them do, and that's usually the ones who tend to rise on top quicker. If the ones who don't have as much money to shell out, they are more likely to not get there quicker. So that's what my thoughts are.
The only difference is that you don't have the backing of a company or a team to really help you, and you're pretty much just a person wearing multiple different hats since you have to do everything yourself. And that can be very overwhelming to someone who's just starting out, or if you've been doing this for a long time, you know how important it is to do marketing, to edit your videos, to come up with titles, thumbnails, and just pretty much doing everything yourself. And also, I never really understood the whole concept of why people try so hard to copy other really big creators in the sense of like their entire design, their whole silhouettes, even their color palette. I know.
Well, okay, I understand that, but in terms of why people try to replicate other people, is because they already have a large following. And a lot of people don't think with the hindsight that, oh, I gotta keep up that facade if it is a facade. They're just gonna be like, well, this is what gives me money, so like I gotta go with it. Like, for example, if a lot of well-established VTubers like, oh my goodness, oh poop, like, you know, they over exaggerate. They're not they're playing up the character, because essentially when you're a VTuber, you gotta play up a character, especially when you're a big time streamer. You're kind of trying to play up your character. So I would say that with what she's saying in terms of the way it looks, yeah, I mean, then it's not gonna be your character, it's gonna be a replica of a character that's already made with some edits.
Don't really own their own color palette because, well, I mean, some companies own colors and hex codes, but that's beside
What?
the point.
I didn't know that.
There's who really truly believe that the only way that they'll grow is by copying exactly what every other big and popular creator is doing right now. And sure, that is one way to grow, but from what I have seen, it tends to lead to a lot of burnout because, well, you are not that person. You can't keep up and have the same
I would agree.
resources or creative ability like that person can. You are not them. And at the end of the day, why would somebody want to watch you over them anyways? This was a pretty big mistake that I had to kind of learn for myself because I used to really want
well, I would say some people are gonna want to watch them regardless because of the fact that they're not as big, meaning that they could still interact with them a lot more than a big time streamer. Like, let's say if I was to go into this person's stream and she has like over 100 people, the odds of me actually being able to talk to her is gonna be like 1%. But if a person who replicates you and they only have like 10 people in stream, the odds of them gonna be able to be 1 in 10%. They'll read it. So it's like, I understand why people do it. It's just like, would it be the best thing to do?
Too, since I thought that was the only way you could grow. Until I realized that the only way you can grow is to get people to like what it is that you have to offer, which is kind of hard to figure out if you don't really know what it is that you have to offer, or the things that you think you have to offer are not really the things you have to offer. Look, I used to be the kind of person where I used to think that I wanted what Iron Mouse had until you start attracting the same type of people that Iron Mouse has. And then you realize you don't actually vibe with this group of people. Once again, there's nothing wrong with Iron Mouse's audience, and I am not throwing any kind of shade, but I think in order to stand out as a VTuber, you have to stop chasing after other people's communities, because you don't actually want their audience, you want your own. And the only way you can truly create your own community is by making content that your audience actually cares about. This might explain.
So, with what they said, like for example, Iron Mouse and stuff, I mean, yeah, if I were to get, let's say, Kenji's audience, it probably wouldn't work because I have a completely different way of speaking to my audience. Like, even though I'm forward or just don't really think about it sometimes, I'm not gonna be like, bleep, yeah, like right away. And like, that audience tends to spit a lot of fire out, and it can't be, I'm not saying it's negative, like, you know, how she said, but it's just like, it might not vibe with you. But on the other side, you gotta think about, well, you see what that audience provides for that VTuber, whether it comes with content or whether it comes with like sense of security or whatever. And so then you're like, I do want that type of audience. But again, you have to look at both perspective. I understand why, because she's saying it mostly from her perspective, and like, you know, try to have the more positive look at things. So like, when it comes to what I could bring, honestly, it's just more being able to look at both sides. I feel like, you know, seeing like the pros and cons of both sides and not just like focusing on one thing. Because a lot of these people, if you haven't noticed, I'm not saying on this specific video in general, they will either spin one way or they'll spin another. So it's just like, yo, growing an audience is hard, but you should do it and replicate yours or make your own thing. And then someone on the upper side where, yo, try to go outlandish and try to be up top, be yourself, but do it all wild. Like, you know, they're gonna have two different ways of explaining their situation. Like, even if it might be the same thing, they're gonna have different steps to get to the same end goal. So I feel like I'm able to like kind of go in a way where I'm like, I can understand both sides, and you know, let's see based off my experience how it feels.
Meanwhile, if you're YouTube gurus on Twitter constantly use the word target audience. To answer like some of your questions that some of you were asking in chat, how can you like stand out? How can you still like grow with all this oversaturation? Because like where everyone just seems to be doing the same thing. You have reaction content, you have smash or pass, you have karaoke streams, and there's also tier lists. Yeah, you have tier lists. That's true.
Yo, can I say, when it comes to Smash or Pass, like, I'm like, I don't think that video works for me. I'll be like, date, hold hands, kiss, reject. Like, you know, I'm not gonna be like, yo, I'm gonna smash you real hard. Oh no, it's just like, it's not really a vernacular. I wouldn't be like, yo, I'm gonna tap that all night, baby. Like, I just like those type of videos wouldn't work. And then like the tier list, I don't know, I feel like there's not really that much of a point in doing it. I have tried doing it before with very little results. So I don't know, I don't really know how I feel about that one. But I would say where I feel like is definitely reaction content in a way where I talk more than the actual video. Like, dang, this video is gonna be like over 20 minutes on a 10-minute video.
Art streams. You also have, let's see, what's another thing that a lot of VTubers all do right now? ASMR. Yeah, that's a big thing with VTubers too. Everyone always does this, right? You consider karaoke streams are a staple. That's interesting because I've never done a karaoke stream. So that's interesting that you say that. I find that very interesting. Popular game at the moment. Yeah, that's true. That's just like a streamer thing in general though, right? That's not really... I don't know why my tongue just came out there. Ignore that. How do people like stand out when you have all these metas and it's like if you don't do these metas, you'll never grow. And if you don't act or look or say things like this VTuber, then, you know, you're not gonna get noticed. And then at the same time, it's like, oh, well, everyone's doing that. So, you know, people don't care about anyone else who does not do those things and all this like stuff, right? You wanna hear something that's kind of funny to think about? There are tons of people who do not like VTubers, and my mod Aerith is one of them. Yeah, I know how to pick them well, right? Well, okay, if he doesn't like VTubers, then why is he my mod? And that's because he does watch VTubers. And I'm not talking about just me. I've seen him share a couple of clips of my friend Abby Kadabra from V4 Mirror Eyes, and it's one of her shorts. And I asked him why he's watching her content if he doesn't like VTubers. And his answer to me was that he likes watching her shorts because he thinks the concept itself is funny. And her shorts are all about making these little skits or situations about VTubing, and like the parody of it is entertaining to him. Something else that he said to me that really stuck with me, and I think it will make more sense to you when thinking about overcoming, you know, oversaturation and standing out in the VTubing industry, is that he has said to me, you know, your main audience is going to be people who enjoy VTubers, sure, but what about your casual viewers? The whole point of being a content creator is making content that reaches people beyond your tight niche community. Think about it.
Hold up. I get what she's saying. I will say though, what's up, best friend? That casual viewers, like, you know, if they like, they're gonna like what you have to provide. But I went to Reddit and obviously it's a small piece of it, but the consensus was, you know, out of like the 20 responses I got, 15 of those people, and this was not a VTuber community, 15 of those people are like, VTubers are cringe, I wouldn't even take a second to look at them. So like, I understand with like, oh, you hate VTubers, so why are you watching? What's up, Curious Cat? But it's also like, some people aren't gonna watch it because you're a VTuber. That's like if I was a beauty guru and I was expecting people to watch me play video games. Like, some audiences are just not gonna clash, and it's like, you know, you gotta accept that. But I do understand what she's saying. I'm just saying, like, realistically though, well, obviously if you're entertaining enough, they'll probably look past it, but like a lot of people are just like, I'm not gonna give anime looking stuff or VTubers even a chance. So yeah, I know it might sound like, I don't know, it might sound like I'm pessimistic, but I'm just trying to be realistic.
Does everyone who watched Mr. Beast consider themselves a diehard fan? No. A lot of people who don't like Mr. Beast personally will still watch his content because, well, his content is fun to watch. it's entertaining. But then again, Aerith is just a normie who likes to watch PNG tubers make these hour-long commentary videos talking about things like the whole Yandere dev situation, and I kept making fun of him for an entire hour, and his response was,
What?
I'll watch a VTuber or a PNG tuber or Barney on a screen if the topic they're discussing is actually interesting to me. And I think that's
Exactly. I don't understand why she was laughing or making fun of him. I'm not saying she can't. I'm just saying, like, it's kind of weird because I'm literally listening to you do something similar. It's just like, you're just like, if you haven't noticed, like, she does do a lot of different cuts, but she does like the talking over her videos and whatnot. It'd be like, well, why am I watching you? Like, it's the same thing. Like, you know, I could be like, well, do you provide anything? And she does. I want to see what her take is. But I'm saying, if you put that same logic, it's like, for what?
probably the biggest takeaway you can get from this video. And no, I don't mean the whole like, oh, it's because, you know, it's the PNG thingy and like Mario's making, no, it's not that. The takeaway is that we have the luxury of blending both IRL and VTubing content that can appeal to a much wider range of audience than ever before. So turn on that hand cam and start experimenting.
Oh no.
And I just want to reassure you that this is a lot easier said than done, because remember when I said earlier in the video about how if I could, I would start over and do everything again from scratch? Well, I kind of did that on this channel, and even though the types of videos I made back in 2020 are different than they are now, I still make pretty much the same content, except now people actually want to watch it. After all, you still
Wait, okay. I will say, like, she wants to start from, she did with this channel, but technically, I'm just saying, if you want to start from scratch, you could literally be like trying to do another channel on the side. I understand, like, you know, the time and whatnot, but I'm just saying, if you wanted to do everything right the first time, you technically could, because technically, I mean, she has multiple different models, right? And so she could literally just make another channel with a model maybe she has or hasn't used, because she started over with this one. Therefore, she could use the other channel too. I know why she didn't, because she already has a following. She probably has like over 1,000 subscribers or something, or 100,000. So it's like, why would you? But like, for example, I did that. I started from scratch again on a second channel. I saw I wasn't doing well, even with like doing what I wanted to do, and so I just moved back to this channel. But I still do upload on the second channel. But I'm just like, I'll just focus on one primarily and have like the second one as like, you know, goofy stuff that I don't really want to put on the main channel, but on that channel is fine, because, you know, maybe I'll get traction, maybe not, but like, I wouldn't want it on this channel.
Around all the way until the end of this video, right? That's why it's important to make valuable content for your target audience, because, well, you're my target audience. That's right. I made this video specifically with you in mind, and now I hope me sharing my observations and personal experiences have resonated with you, because now that we know our content is the problem and not us as the creator, or, you know, our models per se, we now have a new problem to solve together, which is, how do you make content that both stands out and is something people actually want to watch? Well, there's a couple of different things that I've observed others do, and I decided to
Games? I don't think so.
I've seen some pretty interesting results from it. So if you're interested in learning more about that, then let's talk about that more in this video here, because remember, everything reminds you of something.
So yeah, I think she had some valid takes, and I think I could also disagree on certain ones, or at least expand or think, not quite. I do think I was just looking and I was like, this one looks appealing, right? But I'm like, I'm not watching no 3-hour video on this is how to separate, bruh. Like, I try, but besides the point. Like, her thumbnails do really stand out. Like this one right away. Like the one, well, besides this one, I thought this one was a pretty good one that I wouldn't mind watching. But I kind of don't want to watch any more videos in regards to this, because it's like, you know, I'm gonna look at some other goofy stuff. But I believe that's my taste on this. Honestly, I don't even know if you guys, what do you guys think on this? Let me know in the comments down below, and I hope you guys have a good one. Bye bye.